everybody. For the second part of this celebrity type portrait project, I'm going to show you how to convert this photograph into a line contour drawing. Essentially, it's just tracing, but there's a little bit more to it because if you just trace, it won't look right. So there's a little bit of an artistic skill necessary. In order to do this, let me just briefly show you how to use the pencil tool. Okay, the pencil tool is the tool that we're going to use. The pencil tool can be found 6 down on the left side. If you click and hold on the shaper tool, that's the little circle with the white stick there, you'll see the pencil tool is located right below it. All right, so I've got my pencil tool, and here's how it works. If you just simply click and drag with it, you can create a line. See that? And what it does is it makes a direct input of wherever you want to draw. Okay, so that's what we're going to be using, and we're going to kind of trace over the important lines of the photograph. So let me delete these out real quick, and then you can see what I'm talking about. Okay, so we're going to zoom in on this person, and we want to just begin tracing over the parts, the information that we need to make a nice line contour drawing. So if I go to my pencil tool, things that I want to do, first, in fact, let me show you what not to do. I have students who do this all the time. They attempt to just draw a face on top of our photograph like this. Okay, now this might look silly to you. It looks silly to me as well. This is not what we're doing. Okay, now this is putting a, something like a face above our photograph, but it's not a line contour drawing. It's not anything really. It doesn't look anything like the person, right? So the way we're going to do this instead is we're going to actually focus on what we're looking at and attempt to trace over important information. A good way to start that is to let's just start with like the eyelid, for instance. If I just click and draw like that, I've got a nice little line there, okay? So then what I can do from there is I can just continue to trace over some of the important lines of the photograph. You're gonna hit Control Z a lot, just keep that in mind. You might not make your drawing exactly how you want, and you just hit Control Z and it'll fix it. When you're doing like eyebrows and things like that, you don't have to create an entire shape around the eyebrow like this. Okay, it's not necessary. You can just do little line segments. A little line there, do a little line here. You don't have to trace over every little piece of the figure either. The more lines that you make, yes, that will add detail, no doubt, but it's not always necessarily the right thing to do. That actually brings me to a great point. Most of the characters celebrities that you guys pick for this project are probably going to be young, healthy, attractive people. The more lines that you put into your character like this, like even though I am actually tracing properly, like I'm going over the lines that are important to him. You see that? What's going to end up happening is we're going to make this guy who's 25 years old look like he's 80 years old. Right? We don't want to make our people look really old. That isn't unless you're selecting someone where their age is part of the character of the person. Like if you're doing Morgan Freeman or Abraham Lincoln and you want the wrinkles in there, that's totally fine. That'll add to it. But if you're doing a youthful person or a celebrity or an athlete or something along those lines who are young, you're going to probably want to do fewer lines than you anticipate. Okay, so I'm going to zoom in a little bit and I'm just going to keep going. So when I'm going around the eye here, again, I don't have to make a circle. I just want to try to trace what I see. See this? I'm going to try to just trace what I see. Now, I am going to add a little bit of an indicator of that line because the bag under his eye is, sort of relevant to his look. And I'm going around. Notice I'm not just drawing around the entire nose. I'm selecting pieces of the nose that I think are important for the character. There is a skill to this. It's not just tracing. I can look back at this. I'm going to go click on my black arrow and be like, I don't really like that line right there. I don't think it was right. I'll just jump back over to my pencil and go. All right, so let me show you some things and warn you about, there we go, that looks better. I'm gonna warn you about this new thing. All right, check this out. I'll do the other eye here. If I draw the top of the eye like that, right? And then I attempt, notice how it's selected. It's got a red selection over it. If I then attempt to go and draw right next to it like this, the program is gonna think I'm trying to correct my previous line because I'm drawing so closely to something that's already selected. There's two ways to counteract that. You can just draw somewhere else for a moment and it will deselect that. Or what you can do is you can click your black arrow and just click away from your selection for a moment, ground it, and now nothing is selected. So now you can jump back in there and go. So when I'm drawing here, I don't need to try to draw a perfect circle. I can just try my best to trace what I'm doing here. Trace around it like that. All of these lines later on are going to be converted to type paths, and I'll talk about that in the next project or in the next video. So what I'm doing here is I'm just kind of going around and I'm tracing over important aspects of the piece. Now what you can do as you're doing this, I'm going to zoom out for a moment. As you're doing this, in your layers panel, you can make your layer 1 go in and out. You see this? And you can kind of see where you're going. You can see if it looks like the person as you're working. So I'm just making it go in and out. So that'll let me jump back in and just continue for a moment. I'll do this for a couple more minutes as you watch, and then you can just, think about how this applies to your work. So for the mouth, I don't need to do like a big loop around it like this. People do that all the time. I don't want to make a big oval with a smile through it. What I want to do is I want to subtly and carefully select the pieces that I want to actually make line segments on. And there we go. Notice how I'm not connecting anything. You don't need to. We're just doing an illusion. Just the lines are going to give the viewer the impression of what's beneath it. You don't have to actually draw shapes or finish. You don't have to bring your line all the way around and finish the complete shape. You can just draw little pieces of the shape. So I'm going slow. I'm hitting Control Z a bunch, and because I'm messing up sometimes. There. You can, for the mustache area, you could just do like a single line if you want, like this. And then when we type on it later, we can fill that with type that's a little bit darker to make it appear black. Same goes for the beard area here. I really messed that one up. You notice how I'm kind of messing things up? It's totally fine. If you mess it up, you just hit Control Z and you go right back into it, right? So I'm just going to keep on going for a moment. You guys can watch, and then you guys can do this with your project. So I'm going to come down to the jawline. You can do this with the trackpad on your mouse, or you can do it with on your keyboard, or you can do it with an actual mouse. I actually prefer the trackpad. I like to click with my left hand, with my off hand, and then just draw with my right hand. It's a little trick to using a trackpad effectively. You just click with one hand, you can then draw. If you click with your offhand once, then you can just draw in the sand with your other hand. It's very, very easy, in my opinion. Okay, so how about the hair? Hair becomes a weird issue for a lot of people in this project. You don't need to make an outline around it like this. You don't need to like create a helmet over this person's head. Okay, this is unnecessary. It doesn't end up looking right. It looks just kind of weird. See this? Face looks nice, but then the hair looks weird. It doesn't look like curly hair. So the way to do the hair is like this. Very similar to how we were doing other things. You don't have to make full shapes. You can just subtly sort of imply that there are things like for the curly hair, you can make some like swirlies. Now, maybe some of your lines that you make do end up actually going, along with the line, the image itself, but not everything has to. Like right in this space, I can just make a choice to make like a curly line right there. Right, that curly line doesn't actually exist. It's just an interesting style choice that I want to do. So I'm just going to kind of make these little curls. Now, maybe you're a person that you're doing has wavy hair. In that case, you could do something like big long waves like this. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to hit exactly. You just want to give the impression that there's like some texture on the person's face, right? So I'm just going to go through here and do this. It's actually kind of fun. I think you'll enjoy this project quite a bit. People do like this project that I've come up with. All right, so here I go. I'm just going around creating shapes. If I was going to do the entire thing, I would just continue doing that. So you can see it actually does kind of look curly. Now, obviously, it looks kind of weird just on the one side of the face, but when I pull that all the way through, it is going to look quite a bit like him. All right, so in areas like this, you still don't need to like draw in the hairline like this. You see that? You don't have to do that. That's not really something that's going to add to the design. What you can do is you can do like a subtle outline there, maybe something like that. You can kind of do like a little bit here and there, like to indicate that there's a bit of a fade there. But really, as long as you're doing these swirls and stuff, it'll look cool. I mean, obviously you're not doing the same project as me, but your person probably does have a hairline of some kind. You don't have to draw in the hairline like a hard edge. You can just kind of imply it. All right, so I'm just going to go around. Going to keep on working on this person. That line is incorrect. So you notice I just hit Control Z when I make a mistake. you want it to get it, I wouldn't say it has to be exactly perfect. Like on that ear there, I didn't get it exactly right, but you need to be close to perfect. All right, if you want it to look good, you want to just hit Control Z a bunch of times to make sure that you're getting it right. One last thing I would say is if you are doing someone like, in this case, a huge professional athlete with big muscles, you probably want to add lines like the opposite of what I was saying with the wrinkles in the face. You might want to add some of these like veins and things like this, or like the neck muscle lines, make your person look nice and large and powerful. If you're doing someone who's very small and skinny and petite, you might not want to do all of those detail lines like that, because it's going to make the person look much more muscular. These are just choices that you need to make as you're creating your project. Okay. So anyway, I'm just going through here and I'm adding some of the details in. Notice I'm not like doing it exactly right on the, like all the wrinkles and stuff. You can make some choices there. What do you want to add? What do you not want to add? Like that. And then what you're going to end up with is you're going to get something that's going to look similar to this. Now, if I keep working at this, it's going to look much better. It'll get there. And a key here is that you want to just keep popping in and out your background image to see what you're missing. Like, am I missing something? Well, when I look at this right now, obviously the top of his head is missing, you know. Maybe if I was going to really get in there on the cheek area, there's like kind of cheek I could go for. You can also pop out the top bit here and see if you have any lines in really, really strange places. In my case, we're looking pretty good. But yeah, so this is kind of where we want to be at the end of this phase. The next part of this lesson is I'm going to show you how to convert all of these different lines into type paths. So they're all going to turn into little words all over the image. Okay. All right. I think that is it for part 2. Join me next time on part 3.